Here, well, joining us now to break down the debate further and offer some insight is Democratic strategist Michael Starr Hopkins, founding partner over at Northern Star Strategies. Michael, always a pleasure to have you here. Wow.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? What do you think about tonight? And do you feel like any of those undecided voters are going to be swayed after that?
Look, if you're an undecided voter, you're not trying to decide between Biden or Trump. You're trying to decide whether to vote at all. And what you saw from the president was a debate that just got completely dragged into the mud. While Joe Biden attempted to talk to the American people and look them directly in the eye, the president interrupted and really played to the cheap seats. And I don't think it's going to work with voters. Voters are looking right now in the midst of a crisis for a steady hand. And to be honest, the president just looked unserious and unprepared.
Michael, is there a concern for progressives out there? Because obviously, President Trump wanted to goad Joe Biden into socialism, far left, Antifa, all of that stuff all night. We heard from Joe Biden tonight saying he does not support the Green New Deal. He evaded the question when it came to packing the Supreme Court tonight. AOC has famously said, listen, don't upset the liberal base because you need us to win. Did he upset the liberal base tonight with any of his responses?
No, listen, there is no mistaking Joe Biden as, a hardcore progressive. Joe Biden is a moderate. He's been a moderate. He certainly has been a progressive on, LGBTQ issues involving unions. But Joe Biden is who he is. And I think the progressive wing of the party understands that he may not be everything they want, but he is certainly a better option than Donald Trump. And if we want to protect things like Roe v. Wade, if we want to protect unions' ability to negotiate, if we want to protect workers across the country, it's not going to be Donald Trump that's going to be the president to do that. It's going to be Joe Biden. And so I think that's the message within the party that's going to work and keep Democrats united.
Michael, we've obviously seen a lot of presidential debates, nothing like what we had just saw. There's 3 more coming up. Is this essentially going to be the tone that has been set for the foreseeable debates coming up, that we're going to see both candidates really going after each other, and President Trump mainly and particularly talking over Joe Biden for most of the debate, where Chris Wallace said he was going to be invisible. Chris Wallace was invisible.
I don't want to give the Trump campaign too much credit, but I almost wonder whether their strategy is make the first debate so ugly and unwatchable that no one turns into the second or third debate. The only problem with that is the person who needs that second and third debate the most is Donald Trump. What Joe Biden went into that debate attempting to do was remind voters that he would be the steady hand, to show them that he had the energy and the vigor to be president. What Donald Trump needed to do, and what he was unable to do, was change people's opinion about him. And so the second and third debate, I don't know if many Americans are going to want to turn in and watch those debates. And so, I rarely say that the president has a strategy, but this one, if he did, was a terrible strategy.
We know, obviously, Michael, this is about bringing out the bases here, but we know there were a lot of voters, maybe in 2016, that voted for President Trump that were suburban women or were white voters who didn't have a college degree. Maybe potentially up for grabs again tonight. Do you feel like the dynamic has changed since 2016 based on the fact that we have a pandemic happening, racial injustice is happening right now, and all of those tricks that President Trump put on Hillary Clinton in 2016 maybe backfired tonight?
Yeah, I mean, if you had closed your eyes and taken Joe Biden out of the picture, that would have mirrored the debates we saw against Secretary Clinton. The difference is he's not running against Secretary Clinton, for one, and 2, like you said, we're in the middle of a pandemic. People are scared. There are 200,000 plus Americans dead, and it's expected to be 200,000 more Americans dead by the end of the year. We're seeing protests and racial strife all across the country, and people want leadership. At the end of the day, Americans are scared. And what we saw was a president who failed to show any empathy for those who were dead, failed to show a plan for those that are living and could potentially be dead, and failed to have any answers as to how we move forward as a country. And without being able to do that, and being a known commodity now, I think that shows a huge problem. Because in 2016, he wasn't a known commodity. he was a reality TV show host who had an image. And so a lot of voters said, why not give this guy a try? Well, they've given him a try, and it hasn't worked out whether you're a middle-class American or a poor American. The only people it's worked out for is the top 1%, and that's going to be the problem for Donald Trump.
Michael, obviously the next big debate next week, but this one is the vice presidential debate on Wednesday between Kamala Harris and Mike Pence. Mike Pence, a little bit different of a debater than Donald Trump. He's much more of a seasoned politician here. Do you envision the same strategy happening next week, or do you think things will be a little different next week?
You know, I think for all of my critiques and criticisms of Mike Pence, which there are a lot, I think he respects his office, respects the voters more than Donald Trump ever does on his best day. And so I think he wouldn't denigrate the vice presidency by having that type of performance. But I do think what Mike Pence is going to be good at doing is staying on message. If you can say anything about Mike Pence, it's over the last 3.5 years, he has stayed on message. And so what I think we'll see from the vice presidential debate is a more policy-based, more substantive debate, the type of debate we would normally see in a presidential election this time of the year.
I hope so, that's for sure. Michael Starr Hopkins, founding partner at Northern Star Strategies. Great to see you as always, Michael. Thank you so much. And more Cheddar's special coverage of the first presidential debate coming up right after the break, including the battle over mail-in ballots. We'll talk about that when we return.